Welcome to the Rotten Gems podcast.
The show where three dudes talk about movies we love.
That critics thought ran amok.
Amok! Amok, 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 amok.
Let's get spooky.
If you're still listening, whether it's on purpose or like you and your siblings were dead/asleep for the last 300 years until some virgin came and lit a candle, and upon waking up and refamiliarizing yourself with the modern world, you heard of these crazy things called podcasts. And then for some reason, you found and chose ours out of all the definitely way better ones to choose from. Well, we thank you. And who exactly is we? Well, let me introduce you to my co-hosts.
I'm Keenan, and this is Marcus.
How many times do I have to tell you? My name ain't Marcus anymore. It's Ice.
Please show us the back of your head. And wow, I was not expecting that. And I'm Brett. Oh, look, guys, another glorious night. Makes me sick. That's right. Tonight we are talking about Hocus Pocus, starring Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. Now, for those of you at home, if you haven't seen the movie, first off, what's wrong with you? It's a classic. Like, you're probably wondering, what? Hocus Pocus rated poorly? And it did, for some reason. We're going to dive into that. But again, if you want to keep listening and you haven't seen the movie, you will be spoiled. But again, this is an older movie. How old exactly? It came out in 1993. So I don't know if a spoiler warning is needed for a 27-year-old movie, but here it is, just so you know in advance. Before we dive in, I want to make sure. Keenan, Marcus, you guys have seen this movie, right?
Yeah, I remember really vividly seeing this movie. I didn't see it the first year it came out, obviously. I was very young. But I remember the exact date. It was December 3rd of 95, and I saw it in a dollar theater here in town.
The theater on Bell?
Yeah, why?
I saw that exact same showing.
What?
I hate you guys so much. What were you guys, like 4 years old?
Maybe.
Hey,
Something
December, I was, well, if it was a year after, I was almost 6. So, using the restroom by myself.
So I'm just going to assume that every movie from here on out you guys saw in the theater together. I think that's a safe assumption.
I don't think so. I think this was probably the last one.
All right. Well, for those of you that didn't see it at a dollar theater when you were 4 or 5 or 6 years old, you need a little refresher on the synopsis. Here is one I've grabbed. It says, after moving to Salem, Massachusetts, teenager Max Dennison, Omri Katz, explores an abandoned house with his sister Danny, Thora Birch, and their new friend Allison, Vanessa Shaw. After dismissing a story Allison tells as superstitious, Max accidentally frees a coven of evil witches, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy and Jimmy, who used to live in the house. Now, with the help of a magical cat, the kids must steal the witch's book of spells and stop them from becoming immortal. I feel like, yeah, that's a pretty all-encompassing definition there. What do you guys think? Like, I know when we did the one, we wanted to add the multiverse stuff in there because it didn't really talk about that, but anything you guys would add to that description?
Not really. For the most part, I guess the plot of the movie is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is a kid's movie, so it doesn't really have a lot of depth or things that you have to work your head around to understand. But let's talk about the real reason we're here, and the real reason we're talking about Hocus Pocus today, and that is the scoring of this movie. Hocus Pocus, it scored a 37% on Rotten Tomatoes, with a 71% audience score, and a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb. That's 6.9 yabos, 6.9 dead man's toes, or 6.9 California laid-back tie-dyed points of view out of 10. So, with that being said, do you guys remember what you would have rated it yourselves upon first viewing, and has that changed now?
So, I'm honestly trying to hold back so much anger right now because of the scoring of this. This is absolutely insane that this got a 37 on first watch. I probably would have rated this around 80% on a second watch. I'm bringing that up to a 90. This movie is just amazing. It's probably the best Halloween movie you can watch.
Yeah, I honestly, I was thinking about it the other day. I'm glad we did Casper first because I would not want Casper to follow this movie. This movie is great. I honestly, I'm gonna have a hard time finding anything to critique on this movie. It's definitely, I would say it's definitely higher than the 71% audience score, especially the 37 critic score. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, I watched this as a kid and I remember enjoying it, but I don't think I realized, like, even though this didn't score very well, I mean, 71%, 6.9 out of 10, nice on IMDb. 6.9, that's out of 96,000 reviews. So, I was reading a bunch of them on IMDb. It's like from users, and there's just so many people rating it 10 out of 10. Um, and I know, like, I go into Spirit Halloween now, and there's just Hocus Pocus stuff everywhere. Like, you go to the Disney store, like, there's still merchandise that you can get from this movie that's 27 years old. So to say that this hasn't left a spot on the map, I think is crazy. I'm definitely with Keenan in that I liked it when I first watched it. I feel like as an adult and watching it again and like understanding like a lot more of the stuff, because I guarantee you some of the jokes made in this movie I did not understand as a kid. I'm up there. I would rate it even higher. I'd say 8 or 9 out of 10 for sure. Is it the best Halloween movie? No, I don't think so. Is it?
Let's
Is it
fight.
one of
Let's
the?
fight.
Let's fight. You're gonna tell me this is better than Nightmare Before Christmas?
I don't consider that a Halloween movie.
Is it a
Oh, it's a
Christmas
Christmas
movie?
Oh boy, here we go.
Wait,
Here we go again.
Before we ask you this, what's your take on donuts?
No. Nope. We're not doing that.
Personally, I like to eat them for lunch. What do you guys think?
I will edit this out.
I can kind of see both ways that movie is either a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie. But when you think about it, majority of the movie takes place around Christmas time. So
Very true. Fun fact I read about this movie is they released it in July because they didn't want to have it competing with Nightmare Before Christmas, which actually came out later in the year.
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm wondering if release date has a lot of impact on like the rating of the movie. Like the rating is obviously based on what critics saw it, and I don't know if like critics have different availability in the later of the year. I don't know, but
I don't try to make any assumptions about critics. I assume they're all dum-dums.
yeah, that's a good safe point to land on. So I don't know if you guys know this too, but we actually, when the movie credits were rolling, the pre-movie credits, I saw some names in here that I was like, oh, okay, that was all three of the witches, of course. We know Bette Midler, we know Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy. My most notable role for her, and I'm curious if this is the same, is Peggy
Yeah.
Hill. I was like, so that's Peggy.
I mean, I know she was in like the Sister Act movies. I don't remember them very much, but
Yeah.
Are we doing those movies next? I'm just kidding. Those rated way too high.
But we actually did also have a legendary director on the film here. That was Kenny Ortega. Kenny has made some like powerhouse films. We got High School Musical, High School Musical 2, and like just an absolute ballpark crusher of a movie. Any guesses what that was?
High School Musical, Revenge of the Sith.
No, it was actually the Cheetah Girls 2, but also High School Musical 3. Definitely all-star films.
That's why I felt when watching this movie, I guess, that we're all in this together.
If that's a High
I
School
was gonna
Musical
say,
reference,
I don't know anything about
no.
not either.
Yeah, me either, guys.
Like, you could just start saying stuff like, oh yeah, High School Musical, cool.
Oh man, get your head in the game.
All I know is the necklace. T for Troy?
Or S for Sandy. That way they can identify our bodies.
Oh, references. But watching this movie again as an adult, I haven't watched this in probably the last decade. So watching it again, I remember the plot, but there's still a lot that I don't remember. It was a kids movie, right? A Disney movie, and it had all of my favorite things that kids movies have: witch hangings, animal abuse, beheadings. Anything else I left out there?
You forgot child abduction.
Oh, you're right, I did. Impersonating a police officer.
Oh man, I want to talk about that scene so much.
Do it. What do you got?
I legit forgot that was not a real cop. I sat there and I was just like, what the fuck is this cop's problem? This guy is a dick. Like, these kids are legit scared and you're just going to blow this off? The girl walks out and she's just like, what was that? And he's like, just a bunch of kids that thought I was a real cop.
What's funny is I actually looked that up too, because so I'm like, what about if like people dress up as a cop like for Halloween? Is that breaking the law? So you can do that. It's more letting people think that you're an actual cop that is against the law.
Well, if that was the case, people in strip clubs would be arrested all the time.
He never corrected them. Like he's like, oh no, I'm not a cop. So technically, he broke the law. But then again, so did the witches who a child abducted. And
well, who's going to arrest them? There's obviously no cops in this town or parents.
Yeah, they're all at a party, which had to be a front for an orgy or something.
I legit thought that when they walked into the Allison's house, and she walked down and everybody's just in like the old time
eyes wide shut.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, she needs to get out of there because this party's about to get real adult.
They're all like dressed in Victorian gear, so I'm like, yes, they're about to reenact what people did for fun back then, which was their orgies in between their once monthly river baths. I'm sure everyone smelled lovely. But no, I was talking more about like their parents when they go to try to talk to them, and like she's dressed as Madonna and he's Dracula, and they don't come out of that party until like 5 a.m. or like in the next morning after the sun has risen, and they're all sweaty, and it's like, what were you guys doing in there?
That was because they were under the spell.
Dancing for at least 5 hours, you're gonna break a couple sweats. But what bugged me was the mom was surprised that her daughter didn't know that she was dressed as Madonna. This little child literally just learned what yabos are, and now she needs to know that Madonna wears these crazy bras over her yabos. So I was a little thrown off by that.
Like, yeah, Mom, I don't know who Madonna is because you've sheltered me. Thank you. Like, the mom's like, what, are you a loser? Well, yeah, you raised me. You would know, of all people.
Talking about that scene though, when I was watching it, I wanted to blame the parents for being like so dismissive over what their kids were saying. But then when you're watching it, you're like, you know what? It sounds pretty ridiculous. And then they bring the attention to the witches, to the Sanderson sisters. And then they start like a pretty entertaining show. So it's like
an amazingly entertaining show.
You can't blame the parents for being like, oh, this must all be part of the show.
That number, amazing.
Yeah, which by the way, the sisters caught maybe 20 seconds of that song, and then all of a sudden they know all of it. Like how it ended, like everything, like they've heard it before.
That was something I had an issue with throughout the movie. Like I felt like the Sanderson sisters kind of caught on to some of our dialogue. Like it's later in the movie, but she calls him dude, and then when she's chasing him, she's like, "Pull over! Do you have your learner's permit?"
Oh yeah, I didn't catch that. How are you
gonna know that?
Dude one.
Yeah, and at one point she asked if they were resisting arrest. How do you know what that is?
I think they had arrest back then. I think you could arrest people back in the what was it, 1700s?
300 years, yeah.
1693. Was there an arrest process, or was it like, you're a witch, let's hang you in your front yard? Is that considered arrest or just murder?
Well, I mean, they were right. So, I don't know if I count it as murder. These three were obviously witches.
Okay, they were right this one time. A broken clock is right twice a day. One other thing I wanted to mention. So I want to talk about the scene just before that. So you have little Emily Binks here, who is kidnapped by the witches, and then her brother comes in. Her brother Thackeray Binks. So I don't want to keep saying the name Thackeray Binks, so we'll just give him a nickname real quick, something short, maybe one syllable.
Binks.
Let's go with Thack, actually. So Thack comes in, and he fights off all these witches, and they clearly say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna take her life force," and he's not down with that. And she's just chilling in the chair the entire time, like, "Yeah, this is cool. I'm just happy to be involved." So, what is wrong with this girl? I don't know. I was like, run, do anything.
Because they got her there using the Sarah Jessica Parker's character. Yeah, she was singing to her, and that's how she got her to go with her. So maybe she didn't have full control.
What's the effect radius of that? It seems to work on every child at the end of the movie, but it doesn't work on the main characters. Is it something like you have to be like physically not trying to listen to?
Well, and
yeah, that's a good point.
The age might make a difference too, because
the kids at the end, when they were all going towards her house, some of them looked young, but some of them looked like teenagers too. So I don't know. Maybe it's a certain song. Yeah, that's a good point. The radius and the age and whatnot, what affects it. What are the spell laws here? This is two DMs for Dungeons and Dragons asking for clarification. So Hocus Pocus writers, what's the spell radius? What's the casting time? What are the components needed?
Most of her spells are one round. She pops off those lightning bolts like eating potato chips.
Yeah, is it a concentration spell? Like, what's going on here? I don't know.
A cantrip.
That's a good point. Cantrip. She can just do it however many times she wants. So one thing too with that Thackeray Binks, this is actually funny because my girlfriend watched this with me too, and she's like, "Did they just call him Thackeray?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's his name." And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, this entire time that she's ever watched this, and she's seen it many times because she was quoting the movie like before they said it. She's like, this entire time I thought his name was Zachary. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I thought it was Zachary for a long time too. I think I noticed the last couple of times I've watched it, because now we've just gotten in the habit of watching everything with subtitles now. So
true.
Yeah. That's how I caught it.
I thought it was Zack Slater, but it turns out that was Saved by the Bell.
Turns out I was watching Saved by the Bell again.
I actually didn't watch the movie, guys. I watched Saved by the Bell. That's my bad.
90%.
But yeah, so she's like, I did not know this, and like she's like, I feel like other people didn't know this too. So she made a poll on Instagram actually tonight, like 2 hours ago. And she posted his picture, and she's like, "What's this guy's name?" And she gave two options, and it was Zachary Binks or Thackeray Binks. And she shared with me the results. And at the time, she had 18 people that had voted, and it was split down the middle. She said everyone that was 24 or younger said Zachary, but everyone that was older than that all knew it was Thackeray. I didn't remember his name other than Binks, to be honest, before this.
Well, yeah, because they don't really call him by that afterwards. Yeah. I mean, I think they do at one point after he finally dies. I think Emily calls him probably Thackeray. But, the main characters all call him Binks.
Yeah, to be fair, when I was 5, I didn't really catch the names of anybody in movies. It was just the lion from Lion King, the guy with the red hat from Aladdin. I did know Genie. I got that one. But outside of that, it was just descriptive.
The man with the yellow hat from Curious George.
What's his name?
The man with the yellow hat?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember. Freakazoid. That was an easy name to remember. Did you guys watch that show?
Poogas.
We're officially shifting this podcast to a Freakazoid rewatch podcast.
That's one of my favorite things to say.
Runs around in underwear. Freakazoid. Wow. I never thought about Freakazoid in the last decade until right now for some reason. I guess any show that had the names of the character in the show. Obviously, Phineas and Ferb wasn't around, but Pinky and the Brain was.
Yeah, and Maniacs, they're coming back. Hulu is
going to
have, I think, 20 new episodes or something.
That's true. I wonder what that's going to be like, or what the demographics going to be. Obviously, kids, but are they going to?
The demographic
it'll be us.
Is me.
Just Marcus.
Yeah.
Marcus, and anybody else that wants to watch it, but mostly Marcus.
There's actually a dedication in the credits. This is for you, Marcus.
And I guess other people can watch.
So, like, we know it's for you, but then anybody else named Marcus in the world's like, holy shit.
And then under that it says, not you. The Marcus that we're talking about knows it.
So speaking of the names, I wasn't going to say this, but one thing that's interesting is the cat, Binks. You know, we all saw the guy that played him initially, but when he's the cat, they chose a different voice actor, and it was a different character. Or it was a different voice actor who played a character that I know and love. Jason Marsden, not Bobcat Goldthwait. Do you guys does the name Jason Marsden?
I know this because I saw a couple of those guys' TikToks.
He does TikToks?
Yeah.
Are you too old for that?
The voice of Max.
Yeah.
Goofy movie.
Like, it's weird. I don't know about you guys, but the first thing I think of when I think of Goofy movie is the Leaning Tower of Cheese. Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Wavelength, it must be showing of my mental state right now, but it's shut up and get out of my life.
Whoa.
Oh.
Do you need to talk, Keenan?
Things have been tough. Having kids is rough, man.
Yeah. So once you have kids, then you start seeing it from Goofy's point of view.
So let me ask you then. You guys just mentioned, you have kids, both of your parents. I'm not. When the kids go and like relay their story of everything that's happening to the parents, and the parents just dismiss them, would you not do that if your kids were like, yeah, there's like these witches, and you'd be like, that's cool, go play in the other room?
100%, yes.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, yeah, for that scene in particular, it'd be hard to believe them, especially after how entertaining the witches were. But that does bring me to one of the earlier scenes when he runs into like the bullies and they take his shoes.
Cross trainers.
Yeah.
Slick.
What were their names again?
I don't remember the first guy's name. The only name that matters is Ice.
Ice. Okay, I was just making sure that you would call him by his not preferred name.
So yeah, when they get home, or when he gets home, his mom notices that he doesn't have shoes on, and then his dad just like completely dismisses it. And I think that is bad parenting.
Yeah, also his dad, when he's like, this sucks, he's like, whoa, language. I'm like, really? That's a bad word in your house?
That was the 90s, man. But the parents I definitely had problems with, because like they just forced these kids to move to a new town, which it's funny that we just watched Casper and that's the exact same plot line, and she had to move to another state. But not only did they make them uproot their lives, go to a new school, that night he was just like, yeah, and you have to take your sister out trick-or-treating because me and your mom are going to go party it up. Lates!
Yeah, that's pretty bogus too.
Bogus?
Bogus.
Hocus bogus.
That was not very tubular at all, guys. But that brings up a good point. Like, they had just moved there. How do the parents already have friends with which to party? I as an adult find making friends to be a very hard task.
Well, I think that's just based off of who we are. People don't tend to, what's the word, like us.
That's weird.
So I think that's the disconnect. And the 90s were obviously a different time. You could literally just walk into a stranger's house on Halloween and get to know them.
Whoa. Not a stranger, but Satan and Medusa, maybe.
Oh, is that what we're calling Penny Marshall?
Hey, I am glad you guys brought up this scene too, because for the last couple of years, or at least for as long as I've known that Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall were brother and sister, it's really bothered me that they have hired them to play husband and wife.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then I couldn't help but think of the opposite situation. Did you guys watch Dexter?
Oh yeah, and
yeah, Michael C. Hall and what's her name? Jennifer Carpenter. They played brother and sister, but then they got married
afterwards.
Like both of these situations are so weird, but I want to know which one's weirder. If you're,
Dexter.
I think
Dexter's so much worse.
I was gonna say the other way because it's not like they didn't know each other before, you know, whereas Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall, they've been brother and sister their whole lives. Now they gotta act like they're.
that we know of. That we know of.
I think that's way worse. I wanted to go back to when the movie first started. I don't know how many times I've actually seen this movie. We watch it a lot, especially around Halloween.
I watch it during Valentine's Day. It's a weird tradition.
Just to get you a little in the spoopy mood.
Spood.
But yeah, the way the movie starts, it always throws me off. I always forget that's how the movie starts. In the 1600s or whatever.
The Binks family.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's talk about that because, so obviously, you know, Emily Binks gets devoured by the witches, and
Devoured.
Thack gets turned into a cat, right? So I was wondering, like, when watching this, because he doesn't talk until he talks to these kids, right? And, like, he's trying to rub up on his dad's leg to be like, hey, you know, it's me. And the dad's like, get out of here, you know? So what are the rules for his speech?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I question that too.
It took 300 years for him to perfect his meows to sound like English language.
That's what I'm wondering is, like, is it something he just, like, 300 years is a long time. Did he have to learn it? Or can he only talk to people, like, involved with the candle spell? Or, again, there's a lot of rules in this movie that aren't explained. Is he speak with animals? Speak with humans? What spell is he casting?
One of my guesses is that maybe he knew that if he started talking, his dad would just be like, another witch!
And burn him. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I feel like they burned everybody for anything. Then, you're a woman with an opinion. No, thanks.
You're a movie critic? To the stake. I actually appreciate that one.
Yeah, that one's fine. I'm totally cool with that. That's a good point. I don't know. Like, we got to sit down and get these rules. I don't know if other people think about this like we do, but
I wonder if other people think about, like, Thackeray Binks. That's an old time name. If that was to continue on to now, would it probably be changed to something like Bing? Like Chandler Bing? Is he a descendant of Chandler Bing from Friends?
Or if you want to, be a woman, you could be Ms. Chenandler. Let's change the name up a little bit. Bong? Ms. Chenandler Bong. No, you don't get the Friends episode? Okay, well, moving on.
I get it.
This isn't a Friends podcast.
Yet.
No, I meant that in, like, the literal sense, just so people know. We are not friends. Anybody on this podcast is not friends with anybody else on this podcast.
I guess this is where our therapy continues, because I thought we were pals.
I also wanted to talk about the school. This is like the second week in a row where we have a classroom scene.
True.
And, like, the teacher wasn't as bad as last time, but
debatable.
She was
That's debatable.
And she still kind of allowed the class to do some unorthodox things that you would see in a normal real life classroom.
So aside from just telling your class a horror story, which I don't think was in the curriculum, what else are you talking about?
Well, like when he gets up and, like, gives I can't remember her name there. Allison his number. Just, like,
that's a good point.
Hits on her right in front of the whole class.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because doesn't that I hated Max in the very beginning. I thought that scene was so cringy. I'm like, here's my number, and he's just, like, gonna give the number to her in front of the whole class. Like, first of all, the confidence on that kid, right? Because, like, if I'm going to give a girl a number, it's going to be where nobody can see me do it.
Even the girl.
Yeah. Just, like, slip it in her backpack. Like, maybe she'll find that one day. But he's like this cocky, like confident, like I don't believe in witches. But also, like, she's like, oh, it's All Hallows Eve. And then the class just starts clapping, which doesn't match social cues, but okay. But he's like this cocky, confident guy. And then, like, the rest of the movie, he's not the same guy anymore. And, like, I can't tell you how many this guy's a virgin jokes were made at his expense. I don't know. That scene just pissed me off for reasons.
That's the 90s, man. Like,
Yeah.
think about it. Through this entire movie, even the bus driver, which we should talk about, that guy needs to be fired because that's clearly not a one-time scenario where he's pulled this move. Like, you don't just pull up to 3 random ladies on the side of the road and start making sexual innuendos towards them. Like, this guy has been pulling this move all night, and he's just waiting for the one to buy in.
I actually crack up every time I see that scene, because I think that was one of those things where, you know, you don't think of it as a kid, whatever, you just blow it off. But when he's talking about, I don't remember exactly what he says, something about he'll take you to I'll deliver you your desires. She's like, we desire children. He's like, well, may take a couple of tries. I don't think that'd be a problem.
Yeah, that line as a kid, like, completely over my head, and that's not something I picked up on, obviously, until an adult. But there are a few lines like that in the movie that I think, like, deserved praise. So that was one of the ones for sure. The other part where Max is getting first confronted by the bullies in, like, the graveyard or whatever that was, and Ice was like, "Well, what am I supposed to do with my afternoon?" And he's like, "Maybe you could learn to breathe through your nose." I laughed so hard at that. I was like, "Oh, mouth breather jokes, nice." It's Stranger Things all over again.
Did he deserve to be bullied? Straight up desecrating a graveyard, just riding through on his bike. I think you are kind of asking for it if you're doing that.
That's a good point, you know. But also, like, later on when they're trick or treating and Danny, like, it's like, well, my big brother's here, and he's like, you just embarrassed me in front of half the school, and it's like there's like 5 boys there. I'm like, how big is your school?
10 boys.
And also, those kids were in the graveyard. Were they even part of your school? Like, it was never, to my understanding, explained as if they were just local dropouts or went to the school or anything. Like, why were those two hanging out in the cemetery?
And when they were doing that little candy tax thing later on that night, that was one of the things I was thinking about. I was like, man, these bullies are way over the top. Just like bullying these little kids, taking their candies. But you know what? I was all for it. It's an entertaining movie.
And they got theirs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys watch through the credits? Like, they're just, like, still hanging up there. Like, what do we do?
They're still hanging there to this day.
That's the new Sanderson sister story. It's about the Jay and Ice just hanging there now and how they've been dead. But also 300 years, right? You mean to tell me that no one's broken into that house and, like, messed with all their stuff for 300 years?
No virgins, like, that's for sure.
Right. And maybe, is that the joke? Is that, like, it because it was a museum, right? You don't think that anybody has just tried to light that candle when it was a museum? Or is the saving grace that they have to be a virgin?
I think that's the saving grace. I really wish they would have made, like, a joke during that scene after he lit it. Like, you're a virgin? What? No. I've totally been with a girl. I don't know, man. Candles don't lie.
Yeah, it must be defective or something. I don't know what's going on.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I right after he lights it, his sister, or at some point after he lights it, his sister's like, she calls him a virgin, and I'm thinking, how old is his sister, and how does she even know what a virgin is?
Yeah, which actually wrote that down because I thought the way that she was explaining it was hilarious. She's like, my brother's a virgin. He lit the black flame candle. The witches are back from the dead, and they're after us. We need help.
Yeah.
Like, on the checklist of things to say. Oh, yeah, by the way, just in case you didn't know, this guy right here, total virgin.
You could have left that part out.
Then when he's like, "Yeah, I'll tattoo it on my forehead."
Did you also catch at the end when like Thackeray's like heading off to the afterlife? He's just like, "Yeah, I had to wait for that virgin to light the candle." He just put so much emphasis on it.
Yeah, again, not anything I would have picked up on as a kid because I don't know what a virgin was. I barely know what it is now. I mean, I definitely am one. You know, I'm a nice, responsible adult. You know, just waiting for that right marriage.
Is this what we've come to, Brett?
What?
Lying on a podcast? That's what we're about now?
I mean,
We
Is this the-
would
You
never
deviant.
lie on
is this the
podcast.
is this the first time we've lied tonight? Earlier, you said we weren't friends, and either you're lying or I'm really sad.
I guess you're really sad, bud.
No. I guess you're really sad. Wait, you said I guess you're really sad, bud. Which is it?
Well, now we're friends after that.
Oh, okay. Cool. Happiness restored. We're good.
I don't like the cut of your jib. We're no longer friends.
That's fair. This is a fluctuating friendship. I'm for it.
All right. It's all good, bud.
Oh, we're buds again. You guys see what it's like doing a podcast with Keenan? It's torture. It's just a bunch of hocus pocus, you know.
Speaking of Hocus Pocus, have you guys seen the movie Casper?
Let's talk about that.
If you have, go watch our last episode. And if you have already, thank you. You're a really nice person. You know that? And
Can
I
we
like
keep
the
you?
I like I was getting to that. I was going to say I like that you're a person that listens to us. Can we keep you? I was trying to bury it so it didn't sound as creepy, but
No,
there
there's
you
no
are.
way to. There's no way to not have that so creepy.
You know, when you live in the Victorian era and you could just keep women.
But you
Well,
know,
the 90s, apparently.
strangely enough, that leads me to something else I wanted to talk about with Hocus Pocus, because Binks, when he's a ghost, whispers to Danny, "I shall always be with you," and that is a lot less creepy than Casper whispering, "Can I keep you?"
Take note, Casper.
That's true. So I was wondering about that, right? So we've already talked about, like, does Binks have to learn language? Has he learned it all the time? But he did mention when they were in the sewers that he hunts rats there all the time, right? So we can assume that he's at least walking around the outside world all the time. But does Casper ever get any exposure to anybody else other than his uncles? So Binks also uses sarcasm and stuff throughout the movie, which I don't think is very prevalent in the 1600s. So I think it's safe to assume that Binks is learning, but was Casper learning?
Well, this isn't a Casper podcast. This is a Hocus Pocus podcast.
Yeah.
Nice
that's
try,
my point.
bud.
Who talks about Casper? Yeah. The scene with Binks in the sewer, though, that revealed a lot when he's like, "Oh, I hunt. I used to hunt, like, I hunt my." I don't know what he said exactly. That he hunts mice here all the time. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So he was not just trapped in the house the whole time.
Well, he
But
can't exactly go to the grocery store.
I mean, he probably could. Like, if you worked at a grocery store and a cat came in and took, like, something, you would just let him go, right?
I wouldn't let the cat get that far.
So
Get out.
what?
Scoot.
I would be like, that
Ooh.
cat came in with food in his mouth and then left. Yeah, you can take that, bud. You know what's up. You are intelligent. You eat that meal.
Yeah, but also cats are disgusting animals. So
Whoa, Marcus, talk some sense into this lad. Or
I mean,
No.
I don't really care either way,
wow.
unless the cat started talking to me.
Learning a lot about you guys tonight. Things I haven't known over the what? How long have we known each other? Well, I mean, you two, since you were fucking toddlers, but
this is what, episode 7? So
7 weeks ago. But anyway, back to Hocus Pocus again. So we talked about the scene where they're in the sewer, running from, which is arguably one of the best characters in the movie, and that is the person who I think spoke the least lines, right? That was Billy. One thing that was interesting was I actually found was during the 20th anniversary screening of the film, Doug Jones, who not only plays Billy, but he's also, like, known for playing.
He was in Hellboy.
Yeah, and Legion, that one with Paul Bettany. He just plays a lot. I want to say, was it Pan's Labyrinth too? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he
The
was.
Shape of Water. He was in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just plays
I
like
haven't seen
monsters.
that, but I bet that gets real freaky.
It does. I've seen it, and I did enjoy it, and it does get real freaky. Yes,
Is that why you enjoyed it?
maybe.
All right.
How Freudian are we getting with this therapy session? Jeez.
Oh, we're going all the way.
Oh, okay.
All the way.
To it. But no, he plays like monsters and all sorts of things, and this was no exception. So he played Billy, and it said. So Doug Jones revealed that during that scene where all the moths came out of his mouth, it was actually real and not CGI. There was like a little pocket in the back of his mouth so they wouldn't like fly down his throat. And that was very bold for a movie in the 90s, I thought.
Very gross for a movie
Yeah.
in the 90s.
Right?
Yes. I mean, still very gross in the 2020, but it was. I just thought that was interesting because this was also like one Disney's first movie to use special effects for most of the movie. So I felt like if they're doing Binks and all these other special effects, it wouldn't have been much more of a leap to do that. But no, I guess
Yeah, but you could tell with Binks. That was one of the things like I noticed during this watch through. Like I enjoyed it and I thought it was like enjoyable knowing it was from the 90s. But the CGI of Binks kind of there were a couple times where I was just like, that wasn't that great.
That's a good point. I was reading that in order to do that, they filmed a real cat and then just replaced his face with the digital one. So all of that was a real cat, which makes me like wonder. Like, there's a few times where like the cat gets punched, and I'm like, no, even though like I know it's like a fake cat. I don't know. Reading that made me feel that again. But obviously, Keenan doesn't care about cats because he won't let them eat in his grocery store. But whatever.
One of my favorite scenes is when he got ran over, and I was just like, oh. Later, Binksy.
About time.
Hey, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You're an awful person. Just kidding. So one last thing I wanted to point out here. So we brought up Friends earlier, and I think it's funny because when they dance after burning the Sanderson sisters alive in the kiln at the school, the fountain in the background was actually the fountain used in the Friends theme song, which I thought was actually really interesting. I guess they reused that, and I never would have known that had I not read that. Did you guys?
I did not notice that at all.
Yeah, the trivia section in IMDb, it's a gem. It's a rotten gem.
One thing about the 90s is the fashion of the 90s. Max looks like he could probably fit in with like some TikToker e-boy nowadays.
Oh, totally. Even down to his haircut.
Yeah, like the middle part.
Yeah.
It was like all I could think of was all those like e-boys on TikTok doing their weird little finger to their temple.
Honestly, give Max like one long chain earring with a cross on it, and he'll be a new teenage heartthrob for 2020.
I'm starting to like this movie less now.
Fashion is coming back, Keenan, whether we like it or not. All right, guys. I think that we've talked about this movie for a while now, so we're gonna play a little game we like to call Bed, Wed, Behead. Now, there is an easy way out of this. Do we want to take that?
Well, I don't know. One person always wants to go a separate way.
That's true.
A specific person. I'm just saying. Usually the last person always takes it.
I'll take the last pick so we can make sure that we all have the same pick.
Okay.
I don't feel reassured by that.
I don't know why you would feel skeptical at all. I am a part of the team. Go ahead, guys. Start it up.
We'll see. All right, go ahead, Marcus. What do you got?
All right. I'm going to start with Penny Marshall.
God damn it. That was the one I was going to use, you son of a bitch.
I hate you. All right. All right, fine. Well, I guess the thought process I had is out the window.
What? That was what we were thinking, right?
Yeah, I was going with Penny Marshall, but I guess I just have to use my one or two.
All right, well then I'm gonna go the bus driver, who doesn't even have a name. It's just bus driver.
Penny Marshall has a name either.
She did. It was Medusa.
Oh, was it? That
Yeah.
was not rhetorical.
I don't know if that was her actual like name in the movie, but that's what I'm referring to her as.
Medusa, dressed as Medusa.
All right, what do you got, Keenan?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us back on track, I guess. And I'm going to go with Winifred, but back in the 1600s when she was old and gray.
Old.
So, really quick before we do this, they started Old and Gray, right? How many times do you think they've done this ritual? Was that the first time?
It's the first time they got caught.
So, I mean, they were probably older and grayer than that, right?
Oh,
So just
yeah, definitely. I would assume that they have done this many times.
So just imagine the oldest, grayest Winifred you can. Well, let's go with that. All right, what are we picking here? This crazy matchup we've got.
All right. This is tough because, frankly, you don't want to be around any of these people. I'm gonna kill Winnie off off the bat because she's dangerous. You gotta get rid of her.
But would she be dangerous if you were her chosen person?
Let him get his picks in.
Do your picks.
Even though he's wrong. You're wrong, Marcus.
Keep going down your path of wrongness. Continue.
And then it's kind of a toss-up between the other two, to be honest with you. I guess I would bet. I honestly don't know. Bet Penny Marshall and win the bus driver because
just have a coin toss.
Yeah, because it sounded horrible to be married to Penny Marshall.
All right, yeah. So I'm gonna agree with you and say we've seen what Penny Marshall looks like married. Doesn't look great. Now this one's a toss up because I guess it really depends what you want. Like I said, you two are parents. I'm not. I don't know that I want to be. In fact, I don't have any desire to be right now. Not saying that's not going to change later on. But the bus driver, he can give me some kids. It might take a few tries.
I think it's going to take quite a few tries.
Yeah, I don't know how well that's going to work for you.
I mean, adoption's a thing. But anyway, so I'm gonna actually say Mary Winifred because she's resourceful, she's focused. Like the whole movie, she's the one that's like keeping everyone on track, right? Like, hey, like I know you want to eat a spider right now, which she actually did eat, which is interesting. But we are trying to be alive and stuff. So I feel like she'd be a great partner to have, and I'd like to see what she's like when she's when she's not focused on trying to stay alive. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna pick marry her and kill the bus driver.
Well, I think she would be focused on, I don't know, hailing Satan.
Yeah, who knows?
You're always going to be second to her.
I mean, if so be it,
So I think this might be the first week where all three of us are on a different page. And it might just be because Marcus did that coin toss, but Winifred, I got to get rid of. You scare me. I have nightmares of you. I would actually wed Penny Marshall's character. I didn't see any problem with her. She was just winding down for the night, and having three strangers in her house probably pissed me off too. Get out.
That is a good point.
And then the bus driver, I would bed because that guy is down to fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, upon second analysis, I very much agree with Keenan's decision on some of those. I still think Winifred's got, like, that spell book was full, right? And we only saw a few of them. So I'm just saying it could be fun.
I would say that the bus driver was the only one that didn't show any signs of being abusive. Winnie was pretty physically abusive. But yeah, I'll cut Penny Marshall some slack because, like Keenan was saying, she's probably tired. 3 random women came in and started hitting on her husband. But she was kind of verbally abusive. So
Well, that's
that
stupid. You're stupid, Marcus.
kind of justifies my choice.
All right, so first time ever on the Rotten Gems podcast where we all disagree. That's interesting.
In the game.
If you disagree with us as well, you support us, you think one of our points was argued stronger than the other, please let us know. Chime off on our Instagram, on our Twitter. Message us. Let us
Hashtag
know.
Team Keenan.
Hashtag Keenan's wrong and a bully.
Shut it, or I'll take your cross trainers.
All right, guys, I think that brings us to our next segment here, a little game we like to call 6 Degrees of Who? So we'll pick somebody from the movie and a random celebrity from Random List Celebrities, randomlist.com/random celebrities. So, who wants to pick our movie character here?
I think it's your turn, Brett, to pick
It's my turn. Character. All right. Well, I mean, I don't mind letting you guys pick because I'm also picking the random one. So let's just say I never pick, so you guys can pick.
I'll go ahead and pick then. I'm going to grab one of your favorite actresses, Sarah Jessica Parker.
I mean, I don't know if you're saying that to insult me, but she was great in this movie.
I
don't like her. I
what
don't
else
like her
was
in
she
much
good in?
else. I don't like her in much else, but hey, Sex in the City, okay? She was good.
I wouldn't know.
In the season that I watched.
All right, you guys made fun of me for High School Musical? What's going on here? This is bull.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
HBO.
Here's the difference. You quoted High School Musical. Have you heard me say a Sex in the City quote?
I quoted a movie I didn't see. I just want to clarify again.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, according to our random celebrity list today, we're going from Sarah Jessica Parker to Jon Stewart.
Daily Show fame?
Yeah, Daily Show Jon Stewart. Now, when I first saw this, I'm thinking, is he an actor as well? And I can recall
there's
two movies that he's acted in. So we could do it, but I'm gonna let you guys decide if you want me to pick the next person on the list or if we want to go with Jon Stewart.
Let me go ahead because I think I can get us on path. Sarah Jessica Parker was on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. We're done. Boom.
Okay, but we're doing actor way.
And remember, she has to have been a starring role for at least a season.
Yeah, if we're doing a TV show. Well, I guess Daily Show, he is the star, right?
Yeah, but she's not.
She wasn't.
She's not. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. We did make that rule. Yeah.
Literally last week.
Yeah. We're going to go, Sarah Jessica Parker was in The Family Stone with my second favorite actress of all time, and that's Claire Danes.
Claire Danes. Okay. I'll go with Claire Danes was in Romeo Cross Juliet with John Leguizamo.
Oh, we're making this too easy then, huh? So John Leguizamo was in possibly one of the greatest movies of our time, Spawn, and let's go with Michael J. White.
Michael J. White. Oh, I like him. He's good. Speaking of, did you guys like little random tangent while we're on here? Did you guys ever watch?
Quit stalling.
Did you guys ever watch the Mortal Kombat series he was on?
Oh yeah, he was.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Right?
Oh yeah, he was. I love him. All right. Anyway, back to it. Michael J. White. Let's see. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously the greatest movie that he was in. But who else is in it? I can't think of anybody else in that movie. I was gonna go Black Dynamite, but I can't think of anybody else in Black Dynamite for some reason. Okay, let's go Michael J. White. He was in The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, he was Gamble.
Yeah. We're going to go to Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. All right. Christian Bale was in, I'm going to go American Hustle.
I thought you were going to say Psycho.
Either way. He was in American Hustle. I'll go with Jennifer Lawrence.
All right, let's think. Okay, so we could probably open this up if we go this route. So Jennifer Lawrence was in X-Men First Class with James McAvoy.
All right. James McAvoy. I love him. He's great, by the way. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Here's what we'll do. We're going to go. James McAvoy was in Glass with Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay. I don't know if I want to use the Marvel one yet. Because I think there's
Why
one.
yet?
Huh?
Why yet? We're already like 10 steps in. Is there a better time to use it?
Well, I don't know.
Well, he wants to save it for after he throws a wrench in this.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to throw a wrench in this because there's literally only one movie I can think of to finish this off.
I'm curious if it's the same movie.
Oh, I know. I know how to get to it. Okay. Samuel L. Jackson was in, let's say, Endgame with Paul Rudd.
Okay.
You guys understand where I'm going?
Perhaps.
I feel sick now. I feel like I should know where you're wanting to go with this one, but I don't.
Think backwards. Think of the one movie that Jon Stewart...
I think we're thinking of different movies.
We might be. I can think of two movies, and I wonder if you guys think of the same two movies.
The movie I'm thinking of?
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. We'll say it afterwards.
We're not going to get there because I'm gonna probably take us off in another direction.
Do it.
Oh God, Paul Rudd was in Knocked Up with. Let's get a repeat with Leslie Mann.
Yeah.
Hey, perfect. That was it. All right. Leslie Mann was in Big Daddy with Jon Stewart.
There it is.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, was that the movie you guys were thinking?
Yeah.
Yes, I just didn't think of her part in it.
We wasted the good surprise on you.
I try to block that movie from my memories.
What was the other movie?
I thought you guys were going to go the other way, which was Jon Stewart was in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Oh, I completely forgot he was in that.
Because you love your Kevin Smith. I know that.
Who?
All right. I don't know how many steps that was. Do you have that written down, Mark?
Yeah, it's
A fuck ton and a half.
No, it's only like 11.
Okay. All right. That was a good one. And no wrenches thrown, to my understanding.
I'm tired of those wrenches.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Jon Stewart, where there was very limited amount of movies we could have gone, maybe I would have been more likely to throw one.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was a good one. All right. I think it's time then for our last segment we've got here, which is where we read our favorite, best, bad reviews of Hocus Pocus. What do you guys got?
I'll go ahead and start. I have a return all-star critic from the WAPO. That's the Washington Post. Desson Thompson, welcome back. And he says, in the not-too-distant future, look for Hocus Pocus in rental store bins or as part of a Halloween trick-or-treat package. 3 bags of candy with Hocus Pocus for $5.95. Desson, I think you actually nailed it. That's pretty spot on at what happened. It is in probably bargain bins everywhere. But if I got this while trick-or-treating, I would be so stoked.
Right? What house gives out movies?
I don't know what neighborhood he was in, but I need to know what neighborhood that is because I'm getting like the fun size Kit Kats.
Like,
I'm driving up to that neighborhood, walking around.
I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, like we would go trick or treat in my grandma's neighborhood. Every kid in the neighborhood could tell you the 2 to 3 houses that gave full size candy bars. Like it is a rumor that travels between every kid, and like kids I didn't even know. So if a kid gave out, or if a house gave out movies, I would know about it.
The neighborhood I trick or treat at just gives out business cards for babysitting.
Just don't look too old when you're trick-or-treating and you'll be okay.
Is that a genius marketing play? Like, you know you have your demographic.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I'm going to start thinking about that. All right. That's a good one. What do you got, Marcus?
All right. I have a review from Kiko Martinez of the San Antonio Current. This review is only a couple years old. It's from 2018, so I'm not quite sure why he was reviewing it that that late. But he wrote a movie perfectly matched for pre-Lizzie McGuire tweens looking for something to watch on cable around Halloween, while their older siblings were in the basement watching Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees split heads. And then he gave it a D+. Now, I don't know what movie this guy watched. Again, I feel like we just spent the whole podcast talking about how it got better for us as adults.
But also, he was so specific. Like, hey, Lizzie McGuire, sure, but then in the basement, you're going to be watching this. And like Keenan's review too, yeah, it's going to be in the $5.95 bin. I can't tell you one thing that costs $5.95.
Plus the Lizzie McGuire thing. I mean, this was written in 2018. Even that was out of date for Lizzie McGuire.
What year was Lizzie McGuire?
He watched this after watching Casper v. Wendy.
Yeah, he got mixed up too.
On accident.
Common mistake.
Yeah, it happens. All right. So let me give you mine here. So I have this is from a Joanna Steinmetz of the Chicago Tribune. She says, "Hocus Pocus is harmless, but it's about as much fun as celebrating Mardi Gras under the influence of candy corn." So my question to you, Joanna Steinmetz, after first saying "fuck you," is: did we watch the same movie? First off, you say it's harmless when we talk about all the crazy things that like might be harmful to kids. And then you say it's as much fun as what I'm assuming you're saying is a bad situation. Like Mardi Gras under the influence of candy corn. Let's just chalk this down to Joanna Steinmetz doesn't like candy corn, and she had to come up with a creative way to let everybody know, and that was through a movie review.
I appreciate it because candy corn is disgusting crap. So,
like, I don't like it, but why? Like, this is a weird way to tell people you don't like candy corn.
It's also a weird way to do it on a podcast, but that's exactly what I've been building up to for 7 weeks. That's the entire reason I made this podcast, was to get candy corn off the shelves.
All right, you know what? This podcast is over because I like candy corn.
What?
I think candy corn gets a bad rep.
Okay, let me ask you a serious question here, Marcus. Candy corn. Do you eat it for breakfast?
Yes.
Okay. Keaton, anything to add to that?
For the breakfast versus dessert, I would say I don't eat it because it's disgusting.
That's fair.
You know what it's good for? Candle wax.
Do you eat regular corn?
No. Touche. All right.
But also, like, where was that going? Because those two don't taste anything alike.
I just know Keenan doesn't like regular corn, so he doesn't get an opinion on candy corn.
I'll opt out. Anything with corn in it. Like, even not a fan of popcorn. The band Korn, didn't like it.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's all I got.
What about corn nuts?
Nope. Too hard. Hurts my teeth. I got sensitive teeth. I have to soak my steak in wine before I eat it.
All right. We've learned a lot about Keenan tonight, guys.
Get that corn out of his face.
He doesn't like it.
That's my favorite line in any movie ever, because Nacho Libre gets it. Get it out of my face.
All right, guys. Well, that is Hocus Pocus, which once again scored 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I know what you're thinking. That's crazy. This movie was so great. And it is. You're right. And yet, somehow, critics believe that Michael Bay's Transformers is a better movie than Hocus Pocus, which, still at 58%. What are you guys doing? We've given you a challenge. Go tank this movie, and it still sits at 58%. What do we have to do to get through?
I'm not going to do anything.
That's fair. Yeah, we won't. We'll be here next week talking about another movie for sure. What movie is that? So join us next time when we talk about The Losers.
We're talking about ourselves?
Starring the three of us, yes. The Losers, the film, starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Zoe Saldana, and Chris Evans. I do want to leave you guys with one thing, though, just a little bit of advice from our favorite Thackeray Binks. Take good care of your loved ones. You'll never know how precious they are until you lose them. Until then, what do we say, fellas? Have we got that down yet?
Yeah, we've nailed it every week. So rah 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 rah.
Right, 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 right.
Want your bad movies?
You're the worst kind of person.
I know. For your information, he's a little leaguer.